Hey guys, what's up? KylaTea here, and I'm not gonna lie, I've recorded this at least about 4 times, and every time I do, new information comes out, a new something comes out, and the moment I was editing, I was just getting stuff together because I was gonna edit my final audio. What do I see in my sub box but a video talking about updates for HAZBIN, which is something that I talked about in this video. So yeah, I'm just gonna try to get through this as fast as I can and try to put it out as fast as I can before, I don't know, another video comes out and refutes something that I said in here.
Oh, you little bitch troll from hell.
So anyway, yeah, the title of the video, we're talking about the HAZBIN Hotel pilot. It's been a while, but as you'll see, or rather hear in this review of mine, I wanted to let this sit for a couple of days. I've seen it at least 3 times. I thought about it, I let it sit, I let it marinate, and yeah, I'm just gonna give you my thoughts on it. But before I do that, like, we have to address the pink elephant in the room. So, YouTuber VivziePop, of whom is the creator of this project. She has a bit of a controversial past. She has addressed it before on her Tumblr page, and she addressed it again as it's come back in light of the pilot being out. And I'm going to say this, that if you do not want to support her or HAZBIN or any of her future projects because of these like controversies, or because of the people that she used to affiliate herself with, or you know, anything like that, I'm not gonna chastise you, I'm not gonna berate you, because I mean, that's your choice. You know, like, if you don't want to support her or these projects because of those issues which she talked about extensively on her Tumblr, or if you feel that the apology itself was a bit insincere, which I will say some of the language used and the tone that was kind of said on that Tumblr apology just seemed a bit kind of like insincere. But given that it was probably written in a moment of kind of rage, you know, who am I to say? And speaking of, so I'm someone who looks beyond apologies and tries to see the actions of, you know, whoever it is that did the apologizing. Because if you apologize and then you just go right back to doing the same crap that you apologized for, well, then that just means that you didn't mean it. But if I see a genuine effort being put into you trying to be better and try to learn from your mistakes, then I'm not going to hold, you know, your past behind, you know, ahead of you. I'm just not gonna hold you to it like that, because I'll say, oh well, they've actually changed, they've matured. And even though a lot of this stuff happened like maybe 2 years ago, the more egregious stuff, probably now 3 years ago, Vivzie herself admits that she was an entirely different person in 2 years ago. And I mean, that's fair, that's possible, because especially if you have like big life altering moments, you know, who you are one year can be entirely different from who you are the next. But she admits that she was in a dark place around that time when these controversies first came up. I just remember one where she seemed to not be able to take a lot of criticism when it came to her webcomic Zoophobia. And that was mainly the big like issue that I saw at the time, but obviously there was more. But anyway, TDLR, I'm just going to look at this work separate from her and her controversies. I'm not gonna hold her controversies against her, but if you do not want to support her or HAZBIN Hotel because of that, then I fully understand. I'm not gonna berate you for it, and I just ask that you respect those who do still want to support her, given that she has apologized and seems to be turning over a new leaf. Okay? Okay. So, HAZBIN Hotel. What the fuck is it? Well, HAZBIN Hotel is pretty much the story of the Princess of Hell, Charlie, and her girlfriend, Vaggie, as they embark upon trying to save the souls of hell by opening up the Happy Hotel, which is a rehabilitation hotel for sinners. It seems that every year, hell has a cleansing where angels will come down and just murder everybody. And that kind of brings up a question of, well, if they're in hell, they're already dead, so how do they die again? Just a bit of a big question. But anyway, so angels come down and kill a bunch of demons because hell is overpopulated, because of course it is. And Charlie really doesn't like this. She doesn't like seeing her citizens slaughtered everywhere, so she decides that the best way to fix this is to try to have some of them be redeemed and kind of just sent off, into heaven. And she kind of has one client, a porn star named Angel Dust, and seems to be, everything is just going to shit. It's bad. It's just bad. And she's really desperate. So all of a sudden, a knock on the door, it's the infamous radio demon Alistair, who's come along with a deal. Now, is Charlie going to take this deal? Is she going to try by any means necessary to make her vision work and to prove to her mother and father that she can actually do something right for once in her miserable life? Well, that's essentially what we hope to see if the show continues. So I'm going to talk about the good, I'm going to talk about the bad, and then I'm going to talk about the future of the show, which a video was actually just put out as of this recording about the future of this project and of this show. So, the pros. I really like the animation. The animation in some parts, actually through the majority of it, was just so smooth and so fluid, and I really just liked it. Every character kind of had a good bounce and movement to them, and the few of the action scenes were done very well. The musical numbers, especially Inside of Every Demon is a Rainbow, had some fantastic animation. I fucking loved it. The voice actors, so a few that stand out to me, although everybody did a fantastic job. Each voice suited that character so well, so I commend them on that. But a few highlights for me were Angel Dust and Alistair, who are pretty much the two kind of popular flagship characters. I really love Charlie and Katie Killjoy. Something about her inflections and her mood were just, I just loved it. But yeah, everybody did such a great job. They just did such a fantastic job. And actually, I'm going to go into the characters themselves. Now, I've seen a lot of people say, this is a bit of an exposition dump pilot, and I can agree with that. But for me, especially if it's going to be a pitch pilot, where they're going to shop it around the different studios and different streaming services and stuff like that, then I can kind of see why they had it like that. You kind of just want to lay out everything, especially if it took this long to make. You're not going to have time to add on, make it an hour show and kind of slowly introduce all these facets. So I feel like they did pretty good in introducing the characters and their motivations in terms of the time limit that they had. And I do feel that essentially you get to know everybody pretty well. A few of the side characters though, Cherry Bomb, oh man, what was his name? Snake Guy, Serpentious, that's it. I don't know if they needed their little intro, or their little fight, even though I did enjoy the fight scene itself. I don't know if it needed to last as long as it did, but it was beautifully done. So actually, that's going to take us down into the cons. So, well, before we go into the cons, let me end on one more pro and actually kind of transition into the con, because it deals with the same thing. So, Alistair, I really like how they improved upon his voice. Before, it was just strictly he was talking through a 1920s kind of radio filter. But they added in him having kind of his own audience with them. You know, kind of like if you've ever, if you're a fan of old time radio, or if you are a bit of a history buff, then you'll know that old radio programs were often done live in front of a live audience. And that's essentially what they're doing here by having that kind of live reaction from this invisible audience. And I really kind of like that. It added a little bit of something. But going into the cons now, the sound effects. Oh, the sound effects. So I get what they were trying to do. It's kind of like this Ed, Edd and Eddy thing where it's like no two sound effects sound the same, but are added at the same time, and they do give a bit of a bounce to the scenes. But the thing with Ed, Edd and Eddy is that it was set in a setting of a cul-de-sac. It was boring. There wasn't too much to do. It was like everyday life. But the Eds would get into extraordinary kind of out there situations. Like one episode, they broke the fabric of reality. That's what we're talking about here. And so to kind of, I see where they were going with that, but then they ended up, it's a fine line to walk, because they were trying to go for that and ended up kind of in Johnny Test territory, where it just became like really, really annoying. Like, I thought it was okay with Alistair in the audience, and even Katie Killjoy and her like cracks, like when she would snap or something. But like every single scene had some kind of unnecessary wonky sound effect, and I just feel like they needed to tone it down a lot. Some of the scenes did go by a little bit too fast. Like, I wasn't able to absorb a lot of the information that they were trying to give me on the screen, and even through the dialogue, because of all those damn sound effects. And it just happened like in a few parts, like actually with the scene with Katie Killjoy, which is probably why I focused so much on her, because she was kind of more of the standout character in that scene, and mostly with her movements and a bit of her dialogue. But like just certain parts, like a few jokes, timing was just a tad bit too fast for me, so it wouldn't really land. But I don't know, that's probably a personal preference. I've seen other people say that the timing was pretty good, so I don't know. All in all, I do think that this was a good first attempt, but I'm not gonna lie, so I think about this when I look at pilots now, because I've seen a lot of one-time aired, unaired, unfinished pilots that have a lot of character, that have a lot of personality. Like one of my favorite ones that I got introduced to thanks to Rebel Taxi was Becky Prim. And Becky Prim is kind of this like in the same wheelhouse as this. It's kind of that out there, edgy, almost offensive humor. It uses sound effects, kind of like the old Ed and Eddy, Ren and Stimpy kind of way. The characters are kind of, you have a really peppy one, you have the real cynical one, and the plot is just kind of really out there. And in fact, Becky in the pilot dies, so they do kind of have a bit in common there. But when I sat down and I watched it the first time, and then I was like, I'm gonna make a video right now, something said, no, watch it again so that way you can remember stuff that you liked. And so I watched it again, and a few days went by as I was getting my stuff together. And then when I sat down to try to write down my notes, it was like I couldn't really remember anything standing out to me in the pilot other than the voice actors and the animation. Like, even though the song sequences were beautifully animated, I cannot remember a single fucking lyric. But meanwhile, I could probably quote to you Becky Prim, and I've seen that maybe about 4 times, so maybe 1 time more than I have HAZBIN. And this is like over the course that I've, like, maybe a few years, like, since I first saw it. So it's that, I think that that's the problem. And I think that this is a problem that could be easily solved by doing another pass with maybe episode 1, because essentially this was like the prologue, dialogue, exposition, dump. And maybe once we see these characters in a full day just as themselves, it will get better, because I feel like this pilot was just okay. And nothing stood out. Nothing was really memorable beyond like the animation and beyond the character voice, just the characters in and of themselves. And that's good, but it's like if you don't put these characters in an interesting situation, then I'm not gonna be entirely invested, because then I can just I can just go read the comic then, because that's what they're doing now, is these side comics. And if I can just kind of get that without having to wait for the animation, then I'm just gonna do that. Now, this isn't to say that I don't want to see more animation, far from it. I'm interested to see where this goes. It has potential. That's the thing. It has so much potential, but I don't know if it's using it to its full extent. And I really, really hope that in the next couple of months or the next year, as this project goes and we get more information on what they're trying to do, that it takes advantage of that. And speaking of, what is the future for HAZBIN Hotel? So VisiPop actually just put out a video, I just got done watching it, about how things are going to proceed from here. So essentially they're hoping to get picked up. They're hoping to get some extra funding, but if not, they probably are going to crowdfund for some more episodes through Patreon or Kickstarter, which is something that I mentioned before in my older recording, with that being that they do have a few options for mainly streaming services. Like, I feel Verve might pick it up because they'll have the backing for it. And I feel that that's going to be probably the best option for them. And I don't know if any other like major studios are going to pick them up, but I do feel Verve might, if they send it over to them. But beyond that, my major issue is that if they do crowdfund and they do pretty much use the fan base that they've built over the past 2 years in order to create more HAZBIN episodes, is that they do keep their interest up. I know that she said in the update video that she doesn't want to wait. She doesn't want to have production last years like it did this time. But granted, this was the first foray out in the world of making a full-length pilot animation. This is a learning experience for real. So, I don't expect it to take that long now that she knows what she's doing and that everybody knows what they're doing. But what does concern me, though, and I mentioned it in the original recording for this, is that I feel that, because I heard about this spin-off that she wanted to try to do called Helluva Boss. You are just introducing a world to us through HAZBIN Hotel. For those of us who don't read the Wikipedia, who haven't been following your channel for years to see the development of these characters, for those of us who don't read the comics, this is our first foray into that world. And we just started to get to know these characters. So now you want to take us away from the characters we just got to know for only 30 minutes and then create a whole different side world in that? And that one seems to be just as intricate and kind of like have a big ensemble cast as well. And it just feels like she's going too fast in that department. Like, I get trying to keep the audience interested and invested by keeping them in the world of HAZBIN Hotel, but I don't know, just do some kind of short animations with the characters so we can try to get to know them better. Like those DC Nation shorts or those Teen Titans shorts that they used to have. Something like that. Because going and spinning off into an entirely different franchise in the same universe, to me just seems like it's a bit much when we're just trying to get acclimated into this one. So I don't know how that's gonna go. She did show a clip of the project, and it looks like it might be a bit way done. I'm not too sure how far in production they are, but I mean, if people like it and they want it, then hey, but you know, I'm just concerned about kind of just moving too fast. Like, you already got the merch out and everything, and that's been sustaining the show, but you have to remember that we're still getting used to these characters in this universe. But yeah, so all in all, I think that the pilot is okay. The series concept and the characters have a lot of potential, and I really do hope that they tap into it. And I do see that this pilot having a great future and branching off to create a good show. Whether or not it gets picked up by somebody, I don't know, but the fan base is passionate enough and feverish enough that I feel that even if they don't, HAZBIN Hotel will be something that will prevail solely through the fans. So there you go. Well, I assume that you all have seen the HAZBIN Hotel pilot. It has 7 million views as of this recording. So what did you think about it? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Is there anything that you would maybe fix? Is there something that you want to see in episode 2, episode 3 as the season goes on? Let me know down in the comment section below. And if you like this video, then please give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, you can give it a thumbs down. It's okay. You won't hurt my feelings. I promise. If you want to contact me on different social media platforms to yell at me about HAZBIN Hotel, you can find those links down in the description box below. So this is KylaTea signing out. I'm not recording this again. So any new updated information or details, I'll put in a pinned comment down in the comment section. So alright, you guys, I'll see you later. Bye.